reason for that is because they have Locust in as their new hit scan DPS, primarily playing the Tracer. And the interesting thing about Locust is he is an ex-member of this Darksided squad who was actively playing for Darksided for a very long time. So a lot of intimate knowledge there he could bring to the table.
Yeah, insider info, as it were. And just, you know, both Widows not quite competing for sightlines just here, but you already see USMC getting well set up around the side there.
Oh, there's one.
What a catch by Roro onto Molotov. That is a key numerical advantage, but Kanga are struggling a little bit to capitalize on it now, actually able to pick out Mooney. Does kind of take, sort of rips off the head of the spear, as it were, for the side of Darkseid. It's really just Punk exerting that pressure. Termo starting to answer back, but it's Kanga on the point.
Darkseid, though, they pulled back quite nicely. They didn't have to do anything too risky. Termo himself got a counter trade, so for Darkseid, give up the point early, don't lose extra members, but be able to come back early and fight again, which is exactly what they'll do now.
And already just kind of scrapping it out a bit on the point. Molotov, once again, the first casualty of it, but this time Darkseid just kind of keeping the pressure up. They're still a ways away from that EMP, though, so if Kanga can kind of keep holding on to these fights, if Darkseid keep having to back off, then they can get a lot of time in the bank. Wow, USMC even going down there, yeah. They get a lot of time on the point here before Darkseid really get their big push with the EMP.
But it has been reasonably even in terms of trades. Darkseid is just barely coming out ahead. Roro now being pressured out, so for Darkseid, looking for their way in here, and if they get down a couple more members, the cap should start to open up for them.
There we go, Roro popping the tactical visor. It's a little bit out of sync. Actually, funny enough, USMC swapping off the Sombra here, so not really going to be a factor in terms of countering that out, but USMC just going to try and dislodge Roro altogether.
Darkseid just, man, they're still just sort of chilling out here as these percentage points just keep ticking up. They're getting even trades, but they need to find an advantage here. Still waiting for the other ultimates to come up. Molotov's been a long time dead. Now he's going to try and find a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah, Swilko out right out the gate, and Pisa as well. Actually bumping Mooney off the edge with the leap is a little bit rough for the Winston, but with this, I mean, Kanga are actually just now 3 or so fights in a row, just getting 1-2 picks out the start. And actually, Darkseid aren't really getting anything in response.
They're giving Kanga a lot more respect than maybe they should at the moment. That being said, there's a lot of ultimates finally on the Darkseid side. Kanga have spent a decent amount to keep this control under their control. 89% coming and ticking up to nearly overtime. Darkseid, they're going to have to use everything here.
Yeah, I mean, you have to use everything here, right? Like, otherwise you just end up losing the map. But this, I was about to say this is the first time they're on the point without having any members picked beforehand, but that's a lie. Termo dead. Sound barrier out already from Kanga. Now they're just going to be using those tank ultimates. Punk, good catch onto Locust, gives them a leg up in the fight. Termo swapping off so he can just get into the thick of the fight on the Genji. And 99% is the order of the day. Losing Mooney. Darkseid not quite getting all the pressure out that they need here. USMC needs to get a lot of work done, try to get onto these supports here. Doesn't throw out the pulse bomb, looking for the Diva mech with it, and I don't believe he's quite got it. No, Ziggy's still kind of in the thick of it. They actually got the point flipped over in the middle of that, but now it's still Darkseid trying to reinforce and then also get out the better of the fight, and they're having a hard time doing that.
Because that wasn't even a clean fight for Darkseid, and the fight itself isn't over just yet. They did get the cap. It was a bit of a struggle. Kanga now swinging back just a little bit harder, picking up a couple of important picks for Darkseid, who are still looking for a win condition here. They're still looking for a couple of extra ults to swing themselves over. USMC, who was close to one, unfortunately now goes down, and Kanga, they cap.
Yeah, and they're always only working with one tank at a time, Darkseid, and they're really kind of struggling with that. And I'm not quite sure what's going wrong. Either Punk is getting picked quickly or Mooney is, and it just means they're never quite able to exert the pressure that they are wanting. They're not able to give their DPSs the space to work, and wow, yeah, Roro keeping tabs on these sidelines here. No one from Darkseid can really get safely up to the point. Catch on Molotov as well. No members close enough. Kanga off to a good start, and that's exactly what I was talking about just a moment ago on the desk. A good start can rattle the opponent if they come in favored and knowing it.
And let's talk about the good start as well, because I want to go right back to the beginning of Ruins. Roro coming out with the opening kill of the game. Talk about the fact that USMC is meant to be the best Sombra player in Australia, if not one of the best among the top. But they just didn't really get the Sombra pressure under wraps. I mean, Darkseid trying to, you know, they spent a long time trying to get an EMP up, but they didn't put enough pressure onto Roro, give a lot of respect to Roro, maybe too much respect even off to Roro, and they just kind of got even-ish trades, but while you're getting even trades against Kanga and they have control of the point, they're the ones taking up percentage and not you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the moment you're going into that 5 versus 6, you've still got to turn things back around. You've got to actually get a convincing win from there. You can't just keep trading. But at any rate, it's a new map. It's a whole new kettle of fish, as it were. Ruins being very, very different, even among just the Ilios maps. And already we're seeing that difference represented in Termo on the Pharah.
So there's a long wraparound from Kanga, though. They have to be a little bit considerate. They're taking a lot of pot shots from Termo. Damage boosted rockets one, finds one eventually. This is the slow rotation from Kanga that's going to cost them.
And already the pressure from the Pharah in the air has paid dividends. Kanga very low even as they approach the point, having lost Locust on the way there. Yeah, this is exactly what you can expect out of that kind of start from Darksider. Just getting the opening damage while Kanga was setting up, and then from here it's all just clean up. In fact, I almost feel like Kanga should have pulled back very quickly after that.
Well, Kanga needed a way to get in because they were already committed. They made this long wraparound. They're far away from their own spawn room. So by that point, it's all go or nothing happens. And unfortunately, both of those turn out to be a losing scenario for Kanga. Darksider, you'd be happy to wait there. Termo's taking a lot of shots, 87% onto the rocket barrage now. Area control into their favor as well, and they got the percentage ticking up.
And with any luck as well, Darksider should be able to pull this off in such a way that they don't need the rocket barrage. And there it is. There's that same early pressure, plus a catch on the pulse bomb. USMC does lose his life, but it's not going to mean much here. Darksider, that's exactly what they wanted. Exactly what Kanga had done to them. Start with just a couple of picks here and there, and they're still doing this thing where every time Kanga are taking their time to get to the point, Termo is just pounding them with rockets.
And it's the interception from Darksider, right? It's not even just Termo. It is a lot of Termo, but it's also Mooney, Punk, USMC getting the interception, stopping Kanga from getting to their desired destination. Meanwhile, Termo's raining down rockets from above. No one's really able to challenge him if they're being dived upon. Roro now looking for clean line of sight. And Kanga, they have to enable Roro for this to happen.
Wow, Punk able to stay alive, and that was so sick. Just baited them out right into the barrage. That was disgusting.
Look at the bubble placement from Mooney as well. This is exactly Darksider playing to their advantages right now. Intercept with the tanks, mid-Kanga rotation, land directly on top of them with tanks. No one can touch Termo. Rocket barrage comes down, cleans up everybody. Darksider now playing this composition so far perfectly against Kanga, who are still trying to find a response, and they're running out of time to find it.
Yeah, Kanga just never finding a foot in. I mean, Darksider just, they're keeping it shut down at all times. Now, once again, this is an ultimate out of merit far away from the point. They're just sort of scrapping in the side room. They do catch Molotov and pop the Valkyrie though, and that could be the upshot they need indeed. Getting Termo would certainly suggest that. It looks like now, yeah, all the way up to 99, it is going to be the fight that Kanga kind of needed to push this one back around. It feels like Darksider maybe just got a little bit too aggressive that time around.
I think Darksider didn't decide whether they wanted to commit or not. Obviously, they decided not to after they lost a couple of members, but look, you lose Molotov mid-Valkyrie. That's not good, but Kanga did have to spend an ultimate to do that. For Darksider, Smolko still does have a sound barrier. You can recommit into this one, but now they got to recommit when Kanga have control of the point and when Kanga are set up for defense as well.
I mean, they had all the ultimates as well for that fight. They sort of half committed and it didn't pay off. Yeah, Roro needs to get a lot done with this tactical visor, but USMC is just kind of giving him the runaround, and Roro finds nothing. Now Darksider committing the ultimates. Two so far and not really finding much in their own right, but Kanga slowly but surely getting chipped away. Dislodge, good catch. The ragdolls, man, flying off the edge.
He's going to swim it.
And yeah, Roro, just barely staying on, but it's not going to matter. He is surely to drop soon, and Darksider back well in control of the point with no real time for Kanga's just fresh respawners to make it back to the point. Darksider looking just a little bit more comfortable.
Outside of that one lost fight that Darksider, I'm going to be honest, they gave away themselves, it was a very clean map entirely for Darksider, like everything else except that one point. Everything was pretty good on their side. Even the way they just work around the ultimates from Kanga towards the end there, despite Kanga coming in with the advantage defensively, they had ultimates to use. I mean, not ultimate advantage, but they had the right tools to use. How they countered Roro's tactical visor, run circles around the guy, make sure that you're committed in sort of fight where your tanks are the only ones visible, but they're shielded up. They got matrices, they got barriers. Smolko definitely used sound barrier this time as well, and because Roro got nothing out of the tank visor, and that was one of the few offensive ultimates and advantages Kanga had, it wasn't enough.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Termo is going to stick on the Pharah. We see Kanga, though, matching it with one of their own. Just got a good old dogfight.
And I am a little bit concerned for anyone that wants to take Termo up in the skies or 1v1 Pharah duel, because he is one of the better, I guess, more accurate Pharah players here. And maybe a little tough for Roro, but we'll have to see exactly what happens. Actually, one of the key things about being a good Pharah is to try and not take too many Pharah 1v1s. Do more damage to the ground targets is actually really good.
And that's exactly what he and, in fact, Roro are both doing. And so far, Roro has had more effect, quote-unquote, but the pressure is being exerted much more effectively. It is Kanga sort of pressured off to the side here, not really able to find their way in onto the point. So, I mean, sure, Roro was landing more hits, but Darksided were landing the right hits. They were allowing themselves the space to get the point, and of course that is now the cap. And now splitting Kanga apart, divide and conquer. They catch Merit, looking to follow up now on the tank line. Pisa just barely getting away. It seems no, the follow-up is there from Termo with the long-range rocket, and now it's just run down.
Darksided, you know, just like the logo was suggesting, kind of like this waiting eagle, just looking for the right target. They find Merit caught off to the side. He's just going to be a lonely rabbit that's going to be fed on for dinner by these guys. And unfortunately, look, for Kanga, they split themselves up. They didn't pressure the point. Cap went over straight away. As soon as Darksided looked at the prey, they just went and pounced.
Is that like the Australian version of that like New Zealand film Eagle versus Shark? It's like, oh, Eagle versus Kangaroo.
My God.
Yes, New Zealand outnumbers you on the desk today, Australia. But they outnumber us in terms of players in actual ANZ contenders. So anyway, Darksided, speaking of outnumbering Kanga in terms of ults, but not in terms of members, as Roro kind of finds a key one. Swilko not too far away from the sound barrier. Now Roro looking to get in with a rocket barrage to kind of shut the door on this fight altogether if he can. Kind of having a hard time getting the angle in. Yeah, Merit now having to pop that to get in the thick of it, and also Roro dying to Termo with that rocket barrage, who now commits his own onto the... Oh, he does actually... he killed himself in it, but he also got Ziggy's mech. It's, you know, all's well that ends well. Yeah. Gets rezzed as well, and that does mean Darksided hold the point, having drawn a good number of resources out of Kanga.
Well, Termo's on such a kill spree, right? He gets himself as well, just adds one extra to the table. It doesn't really matter too much. Molotov, as you said, gets himself back up, but look, winning that 1v1 in the air, getting rid of Roro stops one of the only counters that you can really shut down Termo with while he's in mid-rocket barrage.
And now if Darksided really want to kind of complete this story, they want to have this be a 100-0 shutout. That would certainly be, you know, proof of their return to form, as it were, after unfortunately losing Ruins. Now Roro looking for that angle. Doesn't look like it's going to be the 100-0, though. USMC dying early, and Swilko as well dying with that sound barrier. It's the second time, actually the last time, he nearly had it. And it looks like Kanga, I mean, they're well on top of this one. Darksided are just going to let this happen, but they didn't get any ultimates out of Kanga. They've got the time to draw them out now in a subsequent fight and then come in with their own advantage and seek to just close up the map altogether. But, I mean, that would have also been a good fight to draw some resources out of Kanga at.
It's about even now still, though. Darksided should be able to catch up to Kanga in, you know, sort of short amount of time. Kanga came in with 5 ultimates, got a pretty cheap win. You're right, if Darksided got an extra one while they walked out of there, that would have definitely been good. Darksided, however, they've got a lot of time to play with, so how they want to formulate their plan around the next sort of 60-ish% up until we get into the dangerous period with Kanga actually threatening to win, that's going to be important.
And these are those resources being committed. They're being committed, though, by Darksided. Roro finally commits the rocket barrage. Oh, catches an air shot from Termo. But Darksided have been well enough pushed back, and the res onto Roro. Darksided just have to take that one on the chin.
Look at that, though. Kanga running out of ultimates, and Roro learned the hard way. This is why you got to shut down, or at least remove the other fire from the equation before you rocket barrages. Termo swiftly eliminates him from the air for Kanga. Well, we know kangaroos can't fly.
I mean, sure. I guess eagles can. You're quite right, but is that like a dark side of the Force power, the ability to fly? It's a story the Jedi would not tell you. Termo looking for the angle here on the rocket barrage. He's trying to... He nearly had a good one on the 2 tanks, but he's just going to go for Ziggy alone. That feels brutal, but now Termo also learning, just like you said, why to kill the other Pharah first as Roro dishes one back. And the follow-up now on Merit here from Darksided means they should still be able to take control of this fight. Resin onto Termo as well, with Davey not quite being so lucky, indeed forced back and run down now Pisa to follow him to the grave. And now it's just a casual Tracer 1v1. For style points, USMC smacks him with the butt of his pistol. That's going to be Darksided. It's not quite the 100-0 to close it out, but it is the map win.
It certainly is, and for the most part, Darksided, when they were winning, it looked pretty good. It was very clean. Kanga had some punches, though, so we're okay with that because we're expecting Kanga to want to come into this one quite strongly. They're looking for points as well. They need to catch up to Serenity, and that's what they're really looking to do as a goal here. So both teams, a lot on the line, but for Darksided, to not, I guess, not a lot of surprise, they do come out ahead. The only big question mark has to be onto Ruins, because looking at the other 2 maps, pretty much in control Darksided, but Ruins was a bit of a nightmare.
It kind of was, but you do also have to say in terms of actually converting that into points, like, you got to win the game for it to really count. So if we look at Kanga coming into this hungry for points, sure, some promising things, but like if every single map goes that way, they're going to walk away with an 0-4, no points, etc., etc. That was good, but they've got to step it up still.
Yeah, it always feels to me sort of like Darksiders is a little bit slow to start on those control maps. We do typically see them, at least so far in Contenders, dropping a round of that map. But they always seem to be able to stabilize and come back with the reverse sweep and come away with the map win.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's how the dark side works. Like, the hate has to build before it consumes you.
That was so bad. We're still keeping on with those.
the last reference you get.
It's the Super Week, now it's Star Wars Week. What do we want to do here? I don't even know. But yeah, look, I mean, obviously a decent enough start there for Darksided. Can give them a little bit of a headache, but overall no real concerns so far for Darksided. Now, when we do get into map number 2, what I actually really want to see here is Numbani, because we actually haven't seen Darksided play Numbani yet in Contenders.
I actually heard great things about the Numbani. They've been sort of, you know, they've mentioned, look, this is a good map for us. They're feeling really confident on it, so I'd like to see them there. Kanga might not pick it, so that'd be a little bit unfortunate for them, but also Kanga might actually be smarter to not pick it if Darksided are indeed good at Numbani.
But, like, what if that's just like the most big brain, like, they're actually just saying that, like, they're terrible at it, but they're like, if we can get people to believe that we're really good at Numbani, no one's going to pick it against us. What if that's it? Like, what if that's how they avoid
the reverse
their weakness?
fakey? I don't even know what you want to call this.
Just like mind gaming out
a Jedi mind trick, for example. I don't know.
Yeah. I doubt that's actually what's going on, though. Like, I think, yeah, don't take them to Numbani here.
Let's see, though, because Kanga has shown a tendency to put themselves onto Numbani after losing that first control map. So we'll have a look here and see whether it is going to be, and it is indeed going to be Numbani. So this is very, very exciting for me now.
Oh, look at you go.
I'm actually not. I'm also not too surprised because as we've seen on Ilios, very similar kind of compositions here would kind of gravitate towards them favoring the same type of maps. Now going to Numbani, could still see Roro onto the Farah. Both teams have shown a little bit of Sombra. Both teams have a little bit of Widowmaker as well. So they kind of matched each other 1-for-1 at least in terms of the strategy department and the compositional department. So maybe they're both good here, and that would be a show indeed.
I also personally prefer this to Hollywood as a map purely because, much like Ilios, I just like those maps that are like nondescript location. Like Ilios is like generic Greek island, and now we go to like generic future African city. Like where is this exact? Like this isn't a real place, you know. And something like Hollywood that exists. That's a real place. I mean, Lionhead Studios is fictional.
You also just like the curved architecture of this place versus the blocky architecture of Hollywood.
It's got a real flair to it, you know.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you. They're just expressing my opinions on fictional architecture. But it is going to be naturally Darksided on the defense first. And we're actually seeing Termo continuing here on the Farah. So looking to do kind of a similar thing, just barrage Kanga on their way to the point, pick them off as they approach.
And note Mooney's positioning here. He's looking to see if anyone wants to come up the stairs as Locust is waiting for his opportunity as well. Going to reveal himself.
Yep.
Mooney as the bouncer, going to close that door on them as well.
Sorry, private function. But yeah, that does rebuff Locust for now. He's just going to have to find another way in here. Meanwhile, the rest of the team sort of semi-set up and having to really spend a lot of time hiding while they wait to readjust what kind of push they're going to make.
But again, they're just taking so much spam damage from Termo. Here it is, the final
catch
dive.
On Pisa in the air.
That was sick.
Yeah, and that is exactly why Punk suddenly just slam dunked him there. Like, that was like an alley-oop play. Like, while he's in the air, you knock him with a rocket, and then you just smack him to the ground as he comes down. That was really devastating from Darksided.
It was, and for the same reasons they were devastating on, say, Lighthouse on Nepal as well. It was just Kanga slow to rotate, slow to find their opening. Termo's happy to just keep raining down rockets. Look, 90% on that charge. He's done a ton of damage to Kanga so far. You can't make this mistake against Darksided when they got Termo on the Vara here, and you kind of learn as well because look, the guy will hit air shots. It's a thing.
And by the way, there's only been one push out of Kanga. Not only has it taken a minute and a half just to set up for this, but in that time they took so much spam damage that Termo has that rocket barrage. So now it's just still an uphill battle. Once again! Termo! Just on a roll with these. Yeah, has no need now to commit that rocket barrage. That is such a powerful tool for him to be able to hold on to. Smacks down Ziggy as well in that pilot form. Even Roro, for good measure, didn't quite get a chance to run down Locust because USMC beat him to it. Darksided really starting to fire on all cylinders.
Let me tell you, Termo's the tallest guy in the court, and if you want to dunk on him, he'll slap you right down.
No.
He's like a guard. He's just like
Shaquille O'Neal.
And he looks at you with that face like, try that again.
Yeah, again, it's the bouncer. You know, it's like, nope. Well,
Mooney's the bouncer, Termo's the VIP. That's what it is.
Yeah. Termo's
the baller here, right? He's the baller.
He gets led into the club. The the club of landing aerial shots, I don't know. But again, the opening damage on Pisa as they go into the dive. Roro just getting nothing with this, heads to turn up and try and deflect the rock barrage, but not even in the right position to do that. And now
get out of my face.
Yeah, lacking that sort of frontline tank lineup. And indeed, yeah, I mean, that was just beautiful, right? It got to the point where Ziggy was spending so much time just trying to not die or maybe block damage. He wasn't even blocking damage for anyone. The rest of his team was elsewhere getting picked off.
And another reset. Look, Roro has to go to Widowmaker now, and Widowmaker versus Widowmaker Termo wasn't feeling it against Roro, but now it's like, okay, I do smell a little bit of desperation out of Kanga for this. When you're forced to do this, it doesn't feel good.
And it's going to take time. They've only got a minute.
Termo's not dumb either. He's not just going to walk into you, by the way.
Doing a push with a Widowmaker is always going to be a slow affair. You need to get line sights. You need to get... Oh, wow. Okay. As I say that, Mooney just kind of walks into the most obvious lines, like middle of the street, full-on possum in the headlights, right?
Like, get on the dance floor, guys. Bounces down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go, go, go. Everybody in the club. But yeah, Roro now actually able to keep tabs on these sidelines. It's still going to take a little while. They need to get more kills than this, and they're kind of losing members. Locust is going to have to respawn. Pisa as well going down. They lose a lot of that frontline pressure. Darksided, they've kind of weathered the storm, even as Kanga did get a third, and now just biting back very fast. Second, third, just barely getting in at the very end of that, but it looks like the end of this fight is going to take long enough that Kanga will not get an extra push.
And that's the thing, right? You can give away 2/3, but if you can't get that last third, what does it really matter for USMC? Well, he'll answer that question. He's going to try and annihilate as much as Kanga if possible, and now Kanga also sort of learned with Widowmaker. This is kind of why you don't run Widowmaker on offense. Because you just can't get the camp pressure. 5 seconds left.
Oh, this is just falling to pieces now for Kanga. These members, it's also isolated. Locust is the only one closest to the point. Pisa died super, super late. And he thought he was safe. He was like, my spawn's like 3 meters behind me. I'm good, guys. I can just sit by this bus. But no, I love that Darksider went so aggressive there. They knew that they could just keep on the pressure, run down just a couple more members, these isolated respawners who, exactly as we saw, would have thought they were safe. And they just gave no opportunity for Kanga to even get one last, even desperation fight.
Let's also appreciate how calm and collected Darksider were even when they lost me. They didn't freak out. They didn't kind of panic here. They didn't do anything
like, all right, two-thirds, it's fine.
Crazy. I mean, it's like, it's okay. Kanga walk in. Roro doesn't collect another kill. He spent a lot of shots on Termo, by the way, that he didn't hit, which is a little bit unfortunate. Termo just kind of dodging those as they whiz past him. But by the time Kanga kind of were onto the point, look, they got 2/3. It was also Mooney respawning. Darksider say, cool, got a full team back. Now it's time to push them back off. And again, it doesn't really matter that 2/3 went through when they couldn't cap in total. So for Darksider now, 2/3, 67% is definitely capable.
Yeah, absolutely capable. I mean, for Darksided, like it was looking likely that they were going to get a situation where they only needed to cap 1/3, but look, only needing to cap 2/3 isn't really much more work, because if you can just do it in one, big knockout fight, 2/3 is really the same as 1/3, at least in terms of how long it takes for the defenders to respawn and get back in the fight. 2/3 is very achievable.
We've also seen a lot of teams just kind of get it in their first attempt. I mean, when they just snowball through, they plow on through against that defense, and a lot of teams have just snowballed really quickly. This could be one of those matches. We've already seen it. In fact, over this weekend, teams just lose Nimbani or lose Hollywood just instantly. So for Darksided, definitely within the realm of possibility. Kanga got to be shaking just a little bit here. Going to go with a little bit safer composition. It's going to be Soldier and Tracer. Play defensively here. Play for the disengage here. Maybe try and punish the aggression out of Darksided. That being said, though, Darksided have not been over-aggressive so far. They've definitely been very disciplined with their own play.
Yeah, you're quite right about that, by the way. I like the city. I like the architecture, but I don't get to see much of it. We tend to not get much further past the first... Oh, and already... Yeah, shots onto Roro. The res is committed. They keep the numerical advantage, but that's time Termo spent setting up where he has not been contested in the air. That being said, with Mooney dead, Darksided recognizing they actually just need to back off here. So that was a little hairy for a moment for Kanga, but actually just getting the right picks at the right seconds there.
Yeah, because they hadn't committed just yet, so they're allowed to back off. If they had already committed, they'd have to play 5v6, but because Mooney died early, they're okay, cool, we'll wait for him. Again, just playing patient here, not panicking, not freaking out because you lost some player. We've seen Darksided really come together in that sort of arena before in their defense. Now this time around, go for attempt number 2. Still 3 minutes remaining. Do need to start looking at that timer, but still got it down pat.
Termo again just sort of set up on this far side. They get USMC here. That's an ideal shot. Darksiders are trying to sort of set up on this opposite side and almost lay siege to Kanga's position, but they're actually not landing all the right shots here, and Kanga are kind of reading the plan well enough. That being said, with Roro low, They look to go aggressive. Davey dead. Mooney once again, though, down. It does hurt how much Darksider can exert in terms of pressure, but they're still getting the kills through. USMC is looking fairly uncontested, as I say that. Or dive on Ziggy. Yeah, Ziggy not quite able to get in deep enough to close out on USMC, rather, and also with Pisa having long since been dead. That's the third. I expect this Rocket Barrage to just be to stop anyone from coming to the point.
Not even just the Rocket Barrage, we're nailing a Transcendence as well. Tactical Visor, there's barely enough for Kanga to get on.
There it is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And Davey stood still to try and get the res in. That's just a clean closeout from Darksider. All the ultimates coming up really at the perfect time.
Yeah, you even have to look at just the way Darksider got into there. They chunked Merit out, Termo that was chunked him out, forced Merit into the sort of blue Horza corridor, and then the dive happened. Mooney and Punxsutawney saw that, jumped on top of Merit. Davey, on the other hand, got caught outside. He didn't really respond to the dive in time, got himself discorded, got himself killed, and suddenly it all fell apart for Kanga. So for Darksider, like a scalpel almost, they saw the opening, they committed, they executed, and for Kanga, no response.
Unfortunately so, but yeah, it's starting to go just a little bit further now the way of Darksider, you know, and I was talking before about, look, Kanga can look good, but you got to turn it into map wins. It's actually looking a little bit tougher for them than it was after Ilios.
I guess there's a reason that you don't pick Numbani against Darksider.
As it happens.
As apparently it happens, yeah. They so far now have a 100% win rate on Numbani this season. Now, looking at that defensive side in particular, actually, for Darksider, it seemed like Termo was given a lot of free reign. There was a very, very late adaptation out from Kanga Esports, but it didn't really particularly seem all that effective even after Roro swapped on the Widow.
Yeah, because, again, even if you do get a kill onto somebody with the Widow, he didn't even kill Termo for that matter, it's hard for the Widowmaker to push on. The Widowmaker is effectively a worse soldier on an inviting attack, and you don't get the same cap pressure that another pick would give you. So that's why the Widowmaker just doesn't have scalability on that first attack.
And even then, if you are going to run the Widowmaker, I sort of mentioned it during the game, like, it's a strategy that takes time. You know, you've got to get a pick. Ideally, you've got to get two. You've got to get a really big numerical advantage, because even if you get one pick, like, the Widow is covering sightlines, but it's only like having like 5.5 members. It's not quite like having 6 versus 5 when you go in. You still kind of want to have just a little bit more, you know, in your favor. And that does mean you have to get a lot of mileage out of a Widowmaker for it to even be effective. And that's something that you can only really try at the very start when there is no time pressure.
Yeah, so we've now seen our first two